ATE, Imhotep, Uncle Jasenev, Asadam Karini, Dua, Ankwastejed, Senu, Henu. Um, Greetings. My name is Asaram Ka, uh, for health, life stability, and power to you all, brothers and sisters, watching today on an auspicious day, a beautiful day. And welcome to the Per Ankh called Ba'u Imra, the souls in Ra. And let's get started today. We're gonna do a powerful lecture on raising the children. A few maxims concerning and what this means and why it's important to you. But before we get started, of course, you are in the house of life. You're in a per ankh. And what we do here, we pour libations. I'm a win wet wab. I'm a pure priest. So it's necessary. I'm a libationer that we make libation. You can do it with me at home if you like. You've probably seen this several times before. An offering, which the Hemka, a Sodom Ka, foremost of the divine booth, Lord of the sacred land, who is on his hill, who is in the embalming place, that he may travel well on the beautiful roads upon which the honored ones travel. Ashe. To our Aku, our auspicious ancestors, who hold us in reverence and keep us guided with the knowledge that they left for you and yours and me and mine. Ankwastejet, Uncle Jasana. For your parents at home, for your loved ones, your children at home, while they still live, while they still breathe, may they be guided in right knowledge. May they be guided by Amen Ra. May they be kept safe in all endeavors of evil, spirit, and matter. Uncle Jasana. And of course, du'a'u for you guys watching. Dihitat Nasu Necharu Amen Ra. Ankwastejed, Uncle Jasana. Shine, shine, shine. And du'a for being our righteous, guided spirit and all spirits, the universal soul around us. Today, we come to open your mouth so you can speak, so you can remember who you are and be an Asar. It's a beautiful, gorgeous Sunday today. It's beautiful in the pet. It's beautiful on the Seb. It's beautiful in the heavens. It's beautiful on the earth. And the nature will rejoice. Anytime a priest of Amen Ra, Asar will want you to bring forth. When we are just crew on the bark of Ra, you know, the supports of Shu. I'm just an Asar priest of Amen Ra, nurturing you who don't know, you know, bringing forth information, even if you do know, you to do the same so that we can all be justified in the Amduah. You're probably at home watching football, you know, for those of you who love the NFL, you know, I watch football as well. And some of you may be protesting football right now because the actions of the NFL just don't seem correct right now. You know, the NFL doesn't seem right. And some of you are boycotting because disrespectful. You know, you think the president is, or pardon me, some of you are boycotting because you think the president is right, et cetera, et cetera. You think Trump is correct. Most of us of African-American descent are torn because we think Colin Kaepernick better get a job, looking at some of these quarterbacks. And you need to kneel down right now until that flag represents what it's supposed to right now. It's not even about the anthem. It's about fair treatment in America, right? So let me just wipe that flag discussion out of there. But anyway, it's a beautiful Sunday. We need to sit down. We need to talk. We need to discuss good kith and kin and the raising of our children. I'll start with a parable from Ptahhotep. and what he says concerning, he says, as for you, teach him then the sayings of the past, so that he may become a good example for the children of the great. May hearing enter him and the exactness of every heart that speaks to him is born wise. What does that mean? What are we looking at? It's kind of self-explanatory. Teach your children the sayings of the past, the things of the past, the knowledge that was left for you by your ancestors who did the due diligence in that chair, all things in nature. Our forefathers left things for us to study. So they're also talking to us. We are their children. And we are left to raise our children. And if you want your children to be a good example and to become great, then make sure that they hear and make sure their exactness in their heart speaks. Make them exact in heart and make them great in hearing. Because if you can hear, you can convey what was told to you, right? The best listener are the one who do exactly what was put forth to them. No one's born wise, and we all know this. You know, we come into this life as feeble babies, right? With feeble portions of nature. We can grow to be great. We can grow as Shemsu Heru, followers of nature, followers of Heru. But until you do, you're not really wise about your outside settings. You have to learn them. So use your ear and use your heart so hearing may enter you, so you can become a great example. Let's move forward though. Let's begin with the discussion he has, right? He says, it says, the beginning of the maxims of good discourse spoken by the prince, the count, Necheru, or Necher's father, beloved of Necheru, eldest son of the king of his body, overseer of the city, Vizier Ptahhotep, teaching the ignorant in knowledge and in the standard of good discourse, beneficial to him who hears, but woe to him who neglects it. Let's look at that. So, good discourse, spoken by who? The beloved of Necher, right? The eldest son of the king, right? So this is a message to a son. This is a message to the children, right? Ptahhotep is going to teach the ignorant in knowledge. Now, ignorant is not a title of, degradement, if you will. It's just saying that you may not be knowledgeable. At the moment, you don't know. How are you going to know? We covered that. You're going to hear, you're going to listen. When you listen and you hear, just as Ptahhotep suggests, then you will come into, if you follow your ancestors, if you follow the great Aku, you will come into a standard discourse, beneficial knowledge concerning your ethics, concerning what your ancestors left for you. Woe to whom neglects it. And you can always see this. The child who generally doesn't listen to his parents is usually hard-headed a whole lot. Doesn't mean he won't be successful economically, but he will not be successful spiritually at all. So, knowledge that's left for you from your ancestors needs to be kept. It needs to become the standard. It will set the ethics for your good discourses. It will set the ethics. It will set the trend to be ethics, pardon me, and what you consider to be beneficial. So when we move forward, we go to the maxim, we go to the parable. The parable starts like this. It says, if thou be a wise man, beget a son for the pleasing of nature. Straight his course after thine example. If he arrange thine affairs in due order, do unto him all that is good, for your son is he, begotten of your own soul. Mm. So that's a mouthful. That's a mouthful. Let's begin to pick it apart. If you're wise, beget a son or daughter that's pleasing for nature. Because if you beget a son or daughter that's pleasing for nature, and you produce a big family, obviously, produce a family that has your example and arranges your affairs, they're going to do good things for you in the future to come, right? First of all, if we're parents or we're two people in love, the person you're with is the right one to settle down and have the children with, make a family. Make a family. And if you're a wise couple, wisdom will start to spread through your neighborhood, because your neighborhood will start to become your sons and daughters who will beget, and more people will beget. You become the neighborhood. You start to know everyone in the neighborhood. As you pass, they will start to know most of the people in the neighborhood. They will be related to a lot of the neighborhood. Make them straight in their course. We tend to let children go astray. Don't do that. If they don't have the good course set for them by you, your example, and the ancestors' example that they left for you, how are they going to know right from wrong? How can they bring forth what you exude if you're never with them, if you never talk to them, if you never deal with your children? How? We just read, none are born wise. You don't know. It's in you. Nature is in you. Believe that. But if you're not taught how to bring it out, if you're not assisted in your growing, how will you know? How will your children know? How can they bring forth good mannerisms and good ethics? It's very difficult, isn't it? Once again, if he makes straight his course after your example, if he arrange your affairs in due order, do unto him all that is good, for your son is he, begotten of your own soul. You know, sometimes you get in a relationship. Say this, right? Let me give you a couple parables. Someone, you're married, you have a child. It doesn't work out. You get with another person, you get married, you have more children, and you still have children from the previous relationship or a child from the previous relationship. And for some reason, the firstborn, you don't tend to like him. Or one of the early children, you don't tend to like them. You tend to be heartless towards them, so to speak, right? You tend to just kind of let that person kind of move around. And you shun them. That can create an issue. Can create an issue. Remember, your children are begotten of your own soul. Raise them well, they will exude the splendor that's within you. What do we tend to do when we see a child with his parents? without his parents. I'm sorry. When you see a child in the neighborhood, what do we tend to do? We tend to say, baby, ain't you Michael's son? Ain't that what we do? That's what we do all the time, right? We say, you act just like your dad, man. And you are such a great individual. This is how we talk to the children. Or you see that hard headed child and you say the same thing. Ain't you Josette's daughter? Huh? Ain't you John's son? Be up and down the street all the time. What you gonna do with your life? Right? So remember, a child represents your soul once you let it loose into the community. The child will cover your affairs when you pass on. The child is generally how we gauge the parent, because we always say the fruit doesn't fall far from the tree. That's generally how we gauge a household. We look at the children. You look at the children's behavior. That boy is crazy. He wild. I bet his dad probably ain't even, right? These are the suggestions and the statements we tend to make. We do not nurture the child if you don't keep the child on a straight course after your own example. You have to be the example. You have to show him how to arrange his affairs in due order. You have to do unto them all that is good. Why? Because that's your son or daughter. That's an example of your soul in the world now, in our community. If you can't control your soul, who can? If your soul can't control itself, it doesn't have any ethics or mannerisms. People are judgmental. You do it all the time. You're probably doing it right now. It's just true. It's just true. Sunder not thine heart, sunder not your heart from him, or your own begotten shall curse you. So as I was saying before, if you shun a child and you don't show that child the proper love, if you're not the proper example for your children, they will curse you in the end. The same way a child can raise you up, same way it could put you down. Right? So be mindful of how your children are raised to be. And if you're not raising your own child, are you making a spiritual child? Are you putting your soul into the children that you talk to on a daily basis, especially if you're a teacher? Them to a teacher. Or you drop them off at a babysitter. What are they learning? What behaviors do you want them to have? Are you putting them around the perfect examples in order to get what's in your soul out of them? Can you extract the good nature in you out of them? Use walking around. So you have to make sure you stay on top of it. Because if you shun your heart, if you shun your love for a child, like I said, maybe you're upset at the former parent. You got the big family now. You don't like the other parent that made the child with you early. You married a new person, whether it be your new husband, whether it be your new wife. And that child has the mannerisms of the old person. And you start to hate that child until that child starts to hate you. And he said it, the hate that hate made. Don't do it. Keep all of your children close to your heart, no matter what parent they came from, no matter what the circumstances may be. Because if you don't, when they get older, they will curse you. They will curse you. Your own soul. Your own soul curses you. That's not what we bring children up for, is it? At all. At all. If he be heedless and trespass your rules of conduct, if every speech that come from his mouth be a vile word, then beat you him, that his talk may be fitting. Lost example. This is a lost example that we don't see a lot today. Part of this is because parents do not know how to give spankings anymore. Second, because the child will call social services on you. Third, because we are simply no longer the parents that we should be. We're not listening to our ancestors' methods. We're not listening to the good speech anymore. They have the same behavior. So let's go back to that. If he be heedless and trespass your rules of conduct and is violent, if every speech that come from his mouth is vile, beat him, that their talk may be fitting. Now, we talk about giving a spanking. That doesn't mean punch a child in the face. That doesn't mean sock a child in the arm. That doesn't mean pinch until you see blood. You have to know how to administer these things. Popping them legs in that hiney with that belt, a swat to the hiney. Sometimes to raise your voice to a child is enough to embark a tear. A tear. It's just enough to do it in most cases. Cussing a child out is not the route. Beating a child up is not the route. A spanking with that belt, a reminder that you can be corrected by your parents, and a stern lecture after, and then a showing of love after is what is necessary nowadays. Done. And we can see it in the millennial class. No disrespect to any millennials. Millennials are telling me this, but we can also see it. We can see it in your behavior. We know what you got and what you didn't get from what our parents gave to us. And we can see how the Aku, the ancestors, did it because they're telling us. They're telling you plainly. You need to follow rules. Follow rules. Things are awry. What is the rule? Ma'at is the rule. Stick to Ma'at. Understand it. Make sure it's appropriated to your children in due order, so you can straighten his course, so that he can be pleasing of nature. That's all we're saying. So that she can grow up to be the woman that you want her to be, proud of. Proud mother and father can stand behind their daughter. Proud mother and father can start to stand behind their son. No vile words coming from their mouth on a regular basis. You can't even turn on a record nowadays. It doesn't even matter the genre without hearing some type of curse word. You can't hear anyone give a speech nowadays without hearing the F-bomb dropped. That's because the ball was dropped when you were teaching them. And then they think that's good, instead of setting an example of the straight course. You forgot how it was done. You want fitting talk. You want righteous talk. You want ma'at, to come out of their mouths. Well, do the corrections when they're necessary while they're young. Let's move forward. Keep him from those that make light of that which is commanded, for it is they that make him rebellious, and they that are guided go not astray, but they that lose their bearings cannot find a straight course. Woo! Does that sound familiar to you? I said, and they that are guided go not astray, but they that lose their bearings cannot find a straight course. Christian brothers, does that sound familiar to you? Hebrews, Krishnas, I already know you know. Hindustani, I know you know. Sikhs, I know you know. I say it again. Keep him from those that make light of that which is commanded, for it is they that make him rebellious. The reason you want to make sure that your child is not influenced by those who make light of the commands of nature, those who make light. That doesn't mean a person with a good attitude who likes to be happy is free, carefree, go lucky. We're not talking about that person. Someone who always makes light of the commandments of nature, who never can get their work done, who always is relying on, who is always deflecting to go do something else instead of focusing on the job that needs to be handled right then and there. That's who we're talking about. Those who go astray. Those who get offered drugs and don't know how to say no. You don't know how to say no. Those who follow the path of the drug dealer. You don't know how to say no. Those who want the quick money without the long lesson. Right? We know who we're talking about here. Those who are misguided, those who misappropriate. Lead your child on a totally different direction than the one that they need to follow. That's what will make your child rebellious. This is not just outside. Locking them in the house will not work. What you need to do is make sure that the lessons you teach them work in a hostile environment. Make sure that they understand and that they are not these children, but the influence of the children. Thus, they will be looked upon as great. They will have the straight course. They are from your soul. Love them enough. You didn't shun them. So they love their parents and love their parents' way. They're not violent. They understand good speech. Have the fit. They have the mark. They have your markings all over them. Your raising. They have ma'at written all over them. And they are guided to go not astray. They won't stray. They won't be rebellious if you do it right. They won't be as those who lose their bearings. And if they do lose their bearings and cannot find a straight course, guess what you need to do? Yeah. Rinse off and do it again. Do it again. Go grab that child up. Stay in that child's ear. My Christian brothers, you have a story called The Prodigal Son, do you not? Started out bad. Came back home as a king. Very important that we bring these children back to a straight course. And you see it outside all the time. You see children who have no guidance. And you don't see any parents around. And when you do, you generally see the parents the child will probably end up to be. Don't let that be your child. Keep their affairs in due order so they will keep yours in due order. Keep them on the straight course so they will be examples of your own soul. Don't be afraid to spank that hiney. Don't commit child abuse. And be mindful of the music, the television, watch around them, thus grow up to enjoy cursing, nasty language, and nasty habits. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed listening. Uh, Uncle Jed, Uncle Jasaneb. If you were watching earlier, I had no sound again. So I just did the lesson over. But Shadi, the good words. Speak the good words. Nefrenature. Good God. Good nature. Good nature. Have that same good nature that you have. Otherwise, be mindful of how you're raising them. Uncle Jasaneb, remember who you are and be in the SAR. Enjoy your Sunday. We'll see you next Sunday.